Mr. Cook.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman. So what is best interest?
It's, before you came in, I said, unfortunately, the way I look at it is I know it when I see it. You listen to all of the facts, you listen to the characteristics with regard to that child, what is that child going through, what are those circumstances, and you try, I think, at least I did and do, try to think about the fact that you're seeing these parents in many circumstances at the absolute worst they will ever be. People behave in family law conflicts in ways they would never dream of behaving and in ways that they would tell you they would never behave that way. And so you have to sort of pull all of that out of these horrendous circumstances and say, okay, what is going to best suit this child with these parents in this neighborhood at this time in this grade, and that will carry them through into the future.
So if we lined up 100 judges, we probably would get 100 different.
You probably would.
And so would you agree with me that one of the most important concepts in the Texas Family Code is best interest?
I do.
Okay. So would you also agree with me that in, I think, Chapter 101, where it has a lot of definitions within the Texas Family Code, the legislature has saw fit to make definitions for a lot of different terms within the Texas Family Code, correct?
They have.
Okay. And so, and we just talked about that one of the most important concepts is best interest of a child, correct? And so wouldn't it give more objectivity and less subjectivity of the judge if you had some type of definition of best interest?
I don't know that it would make the judges more consistent, and that's what I was saying earlier. I don't think that it would.
Do you think it would make it more likely or less likely that it would be an objective decision?
More likely that the judge would make an objective decision if there was a definition?
Mm-hmm.
I would say I don't think it's going to be more or less likely. I think judges are still going to do what their gut tells them is in the best interest of the child and try to fit it into whatever the definition is.
So if there's a law that defines best interest, do you think the courts would just ignore the definition?
I don't think we would ignore it, but I don't think that you can create a law that defines best interest that's going to cover all the circumstances.
Have you reviewed the bill that was filed last session?
I have.
Okay, and it's pretty obvious what the bill is, right? I mean, the chairman's talked about the Holly factors, correct? Is that simply what this bill did, is put into statute the Holly factors?
It along with some other things about presumptions, yes.
Well, I think you're probably talking about two different bills. House Bill 1197 just basically lists the Holly factors.
Okay.
It says, in determining the best interest of the child, in addition to any other factors the court is required to consider under this chapter or other law, the court shall consider the following factors. And so have you ever made a custody determination without using the Holly factors? The answer is no, most likely.
Pardon me?
You probably have never made, let me put it a different
Without
way.
considering them, I would say no, but could I say in every case that every single one of those factors applied? I would have to say no.
Okay, well, I can read it to you again, but it did say everyone has to, because it gives you a list. I mean, you're familiar with the Holly factors. I mean, so as you go through those, I mean, some of them are not going to apply to each case. Is that correct?
I would think so.
Yeah, but don't you think it's in the child's best interest that you would review the Holly factors that is already in case law, correct? I mean that's what Holly is. It's a case, a prior case, and so it's precedence, correct? And so I just want to know, in your opinion, why would it not be in the child's interest to have a definition of best interest?
Because I don't think it would change what's happening now. I don't think it would. I'm not a person who thinks that we should have legislation so that every judge out there who isn't already reading the Supreme Court of Texas case law and following it, so that the lawyers can point to this section and say, well, wait a minute, you didn't consider that there might be programs available to this parent to help with whatever this issue is.
So would it make the bill better if it said that, I mean, because it says you can, the best interest of the child shall always be the primary consideration. The court in determining the issues of conservatorship and possession of the child in determining the best interest in addition to any other factor. So it doesn't say you can't consider other factors,
Correct.
Okay. So it says you can consider any factor you want, but you shall consider the Holly factors. And you're already doing that, correct?
I would say yes, but I would also say that it don't all apply. I mean, if somebody said, give me a finding of fact on what plans are available in the example I gave with changing a placement of a child because of where he wants to go to school, I would have to say, I can't make a finding about plans that are available or resources that are available or acts or omissions of the parent. I mean, the reality is none of that had anything to do with the 9 Holly factors. And if I shall consider all of those, I mean, I guess I could make a findings, I considered them and they don't apply.
Correct. That's, I mean, it doesn't say that they're all going to apply.
But if that's what we're doing, then, and I'm starting to sound like I'm being argumentative with you, and I don't mean that.
That's fine.
And it's clearly an issue that is challenging for lawyers, judges, and the legislature. But I'm on a different page than you about how many definitions and regulations we should include in the family code versus how much discretion we should let the courts have.
Because right now, that's what the court's discretion is simply the best interest.
To determine best interest, yes.
I mean, it's wide discretion, correct?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay. Mr. Brown, anything else that you would like to add to this conversation?
I think any action that the legislature takes should be simple. It should not go into, as was alluded to earlier, well, do we need to go into every single section of the code that deals with all of these different scenarios and create a best interest determination for each one of those? I don't think that's necessary. I think what's necessary and what will improve judicial decision-making is providing that very fundamental baseline definition that communicates the principles that apply to every single family who enters a courtroom in the state of Texas with issues involving their children, regardless of what that case is and regardless with what other factors will come out through the evidence. I think what you were started with House Bill 3072 last session really is moving us in that positive direction to make sure that we don't end up with the number of cases that we're getting at the state Supreme Court. I think these issues of family law are one of the top cases that the Supreme Court of Texas takes up, and it's partially because we don't have consistent guidance for courts, and you have this, I know it when I see it, happening in 254 counties across the state. And each one of those judges has a very different viewpoint of what's best for a child, and each one of those judges knows something different when they see something. So providing them with at least that lens that puts them on target and then allows them to use their discretion as the facts and the evidence of that case unfold, I think leads to better judicial decision-making, but does not require the legislature to get into micromanaging the very fine details of each one of these unique cases.
And going back to HB 1197, I was pulling it back up, but number 10 says any other factor the court considers relevant to the determination. So would you agree with me that number 10 that I just read still gives the court the same discretion that they have today?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any further questions, members of this panel? Thank you all for helping us know what we don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.